MeoLammerz here of Angel of Alchemy, and today I am doing a kind of important video. A lot of you guys have been asking me to film a Madolches deck profile or any deck profile of any deck that I play since I started this channel. And the reason I don't do deck profiles is because I'm not good at building decks and I'm not good at explaining stuff very well, so I don't do deck profiles. But if you ever want a deck profile or a deck profile of some of the decks I play, go over to Invoked 101. He is the guy who does all of my deck profiles for me. So today, as you can see, we have a deck in front of us, but we are not doing a deck profile. I guess kind of this is more of a deck list instead. I have decided that since you guys see a lot of deck profiles and a lot of you play a lot more often than I do, instead of doing a deck profile and then asking you to give me advice, this whole thing is going to be me talking about like what I like and dislike about my deck, how I want to improve it, my play style a little bit, and I'm going to ask you guys to help me build a better Madolches deck, instead of just asking you guys for recommendations and things. So let's get into it. Really quick, follow me on Instagram because why not? I do post all my videos I put up on Instagram. I also do little updates and daily life things like, look, I have a baby Yoda. So go follow me on Instagram, link down below, and thank you to all my Instagram followers for encouraging me to do this deck list video thing. So yeah, let's get into it. We're going to zoom in really quick. As you can see, I have my deck, then I have my extra deck, of course, and then these are just like extra cards that were in my deck and then took them out. So we're gonna set those off to the side, set these off to the side, and let's do not a deck profile. So obviously, you know, it's pretty standard. We got our 3 Angeles, 3 Patingcessors, and 3 Madolches Madolines. These are all pretty standard. I don't think I've ever really seen a deck profile where these were less than. Ignore the deck profile I did forever ago where I did decide to only run like, I think it was 2 Patingcessors. I was just being stupid. So we're gonna ignore that one. This is pretty standard in any build. These are cards that I'm not worried about changing, especially anytime soon. So let's get into the rest of my deck. So I am playing 3 Hoot Cake. The reason that I am playing 3, I know a lot of people have cut this down to 2 or 1 again. The reason I'm still playing 3 is because it's effect that can target 1 monster in the graveyard and banish it to summon a Madolches monster from the deck. That can clean out your graveyard of any hand traps you may have or any extra cards you may be playing, such as gammas or anything really. So that's why I keep him at 3, because that effect, even just in any scenario, is super good. Sadly, it is a once per turn. That kind of is poopy, but I mean, it does balance the deck a little bit. However, that effect, that just little line of text, I think is too good to not play this at 3. So no arguments. Play 3. This is actually like, this is a really important moment for me. I have once again cut Messengelato down to 2. But Mio, you should be only playing 1. It has taken me so long to actually cut him down to 2. Again, this is the 3rd time that I've tried, because every single time that I've ever tried to cut him down to 2, even though I knew in my brain 2 is the correct number, for some reason I always ended up in those matches at my locals where I needed a 3rd one because they were just banishing him. And I was like, I can't win if I had this 1 card, you know? But there has been like no locals, so I'm cutting them down to 2. I want to try to expand my playstyle a little bit to actually try to learn better combos, and I can of course YouTube better combos. Thank you, Kier Twig and other YouTubers out there. So I want to cut this down to 2, leave it to 2 until I'm comfortable enough to see if maybe I like it at 2 or possibly drop it down to 1. I do think 2 is the more popular ratio with this card because it's one of the best Madolche cards, and it's crazy that we've cut it down, but it's for consistency reasons and also because you can search him off of Hootcake so easily and recycle him because all the Madolches bounce. Not a deck profile, but I'm over-explaining my cards. We have one Pudding Cess. You can't even see her, she's so bright. Let me see if I can, there you go. One Pudding Cess. I only play one. I know that, I saw Paul from Team APS did a Madolche deck profile where he was running 2, and he explained that because of the extra deck monster chocolate all mode, you know, and getting that extra effect off of having her as an Xyz material, that's why he was comfortable playing it at 2. And I definitely don't disagree with him, but I have only ever really played 1, and so I think that's my comfort zone. However, playing 2 could be interesting. This is the card you're all gonna be like, why are you playing that? You need to cut that. How dare you? But he is so cute. This is Mewfilet or Mewful or however you pronounce it. I've never been able to pronounce it correctly. But he's Cat Waffle. And he's not a bad card per se. He might be a little slow though because he does take your normal summon, I believe. It says when this card is normal summon, you can special summon one Madolche monster from your hand. So yeah, he does take away your normal summon. However, it's kind of neat if you get him and then either an Angeli or a Bating Cessor, like the little baby one, in your hand as well, because you normal summon and then, well, maybe not a Bating Cessor, but if you have an Angeli and you don't have a Bating Cessor, and then you can just normal him, get out Angeli's effect, tribute herself, or this card if you want to, and then get out baby, special summon combos and plays. So yes, I will probably get a whole lot of, you should cut this, and I'm okay with that. Even though he is cute, he's in here honestly for nostalgia purposes because he was in my first deck ever, and now that we have cards and things, I wanted to bring him back. That's it for my Madolche monsters. My last 3 monsters are 3 Ash Blossom. We don't need to talk about it. I do have 2 Chateaus and 1 ticket. This has become pretty standard in the Madolche community. I know that some people have even cut down Chateau to 1. I'm not comfortable with that because there have been so many times when people have like Cosmic or Twin Twisters or just popping and popping and popping. And even though like you can get it back, at the same time, I've noticed that playing 2 is where I'm comfortable at, just because like I'm not as good as all you guys, so. And the 1 ticket, I remember when this was at, like, everyone played it at 3, and then it was dropped almost immediately to just 1, like some people played it at 2. And it took me a little bit of like nudging, but I did cut it down to 1. I do think it's good at 1. However, with all the back row hate and stuff that's going on in the game, if you want to bump it up to 2, tell me to bump it up to 2. Let's see. Guys, Salon is so good. It's so good. It's crazy. So we're playing 3 Salon, obviously. And this card, okay, so I kind of want to cut this one to 2. I finally got Pot of Extravagance for this deck. Sadly, it was a little too late because for a while, especially in the OCG, Madolches had that little bit of like, they were being seen in the meta community and like meta scenes and stuff. But after a few months, they kind of dropped back down into being like, well, you can take them if you want to, but maybe you should try something better. So I finally got these. I kind of like them, kind of don't, especially because you need your extra deck pretty much all the time. So I think I'm gonna cut this down to 2 because then I think I'll see it enough that it'll help in my game, but I won't open it and possibly ruin the game for me, or see it too often that it breaks my hand. I think cutting it down to 2 would be more comfortable, but what do you guys think? Then we have 2 Foolish Goods. This card is really good, especially to get out the new Madolche. Is it Promenade? No, it's Promenade. I can just look at it. Promenade. The new Madolche Promenade, if you just bounce this to the graveyard like first turn, it's pretty neat how it works and out for you. So that's why I play 2. This is sounding more and more like a deck profile, but it's not. I want you guys to not take maybe get some inspiration for your deck if you like my build, but this is supposed to be you guys teaching me, so I'm just telling you guys what I like. It makes me so sad. I had three shiny ones and now it's down to 1, and it makes me so sad. Everyone's like, oh, well, it probably got hit to sell out this new card, but in a game where people can run like a bazillion hand traps and there's only 1 card that's generic enough that people can play it pretty commonly, that can save you from getting hit by those, at least in the one important moment when you need it. Why is it down to 1? This poor little guy against all the others. So yes, I still have my 1. I think it's good to have it, but at the same time, I don't think I'll see it enough for it to matter too much, but at the same time, I don't want to risk not having it at all. So what do you guys think? I've been like conflicted about it. 1 Regeki because I think it's really funny, and that's it. I just think it's funny, and it works most of the time. Like, most of the time, if you hit with a Regeki, they might have 1 Eldritch left on the field or something, but I think it's fun. So onto the traps. I play 2 Promenade. I think this card is great, but I don't think it's good enough to play at 3, personal opinions. 1 Palooza because, I mean, once again, nostalgia, but also simply just because I didn't know what else to put in here, and this card can, if you're locked into those moments when you're mid-game and they were able to nuke your field and you need all the materials you can get to try to rebuild it, this card has won me a whole bunch of games in the past, so I thought, why not bring it back? But if you have something else that, you know, would be better, let me know about it. Okay, so I have my, obviously, I've been playing these since way before they became popular again, my 2 compulsory escape devices and 2 compulsory evacuation device. Honestly, I'm so happy that everyone else is like, oh yeah, these cards are really good, because you know what? They are really good. They are so good. So yes, I will be playing them forever and ever. You cannot, well, maybe not forever and ever, but you cannot make me get rid of these. I like them at the ratios that they are. I think they are fun to play, and for the most part, like, they can work pretty well against most decks. I think at most, evacuation device is probably a bit harder to do since it targets a monster on the field, whereas escape device targets the player. So I think escape device is a lot better to play, especially because so many cards can't be targeted nowadays, but I like playing them both. And then we have our 2 infinite impermanences. I think it's really cool that I finally have these again because I had Valors in my deck for a long time, and Valor is a good card, but I think impermanence is better. I mean, I'm pretty sure we can all agree that impermanence is a little better. So that is my deck. Onto the extra deck. So the extra deck is honestly probably where I need the most help, to be honest. I'm playing 1 Borrelsword Dragon, 1 Saryuja, 2 Fresh to Start. I know that a lot of people play 3, especially if they're playing Pot of Extravagance, because of the whole like banishing, and she is good. She does protect your spells and traps while they're on the field, and especially with having like, you know, only 1 ticket, it is pretty good to have her out there, even though her effect could have been so much better. Now that we're finally in Master Rule 5, we've been in it for a while, but really doesn't feel like it because we haven't really, once it started, we weren't able to play anymore. So, but since that has come along, we are able to go into our other monsters before getting around on the field to save on resources and stuff. So I did bump her up from 1 to 2, but I don't think I want to play 3. I have 1 Mrs. Radiant, so this is my last Link monster. One of my builds a while back, I did play some of the Nightmare Links, like Cerberus, but Mrs. Radiant, it is kind of like, it's weird how I've won with this card, just because like that simple like Chateau gives all your Madolche monsters that 500 attack, I think, and defense boost, and then this as well gives you an extra 500 attack and defense boost. Sometimes just extra attack helps, but this card, honestly, it's not the strongest. I don't go into it all that often anymore since Scapegoat was hit. So if you have any recommendations, I'd like to hear them. Have I said that enough? I think I've said it enough. I have 3 chocolate a la modes. It took me so long to get a 3rd. So long. I had 1 for the longest time, and I'm so thankful that I finally have 3. These are going to be really hard to see because they're ultis, but oh, thank goodness they're not all muddied out. I have 3 Queen Tiramisus because honestly she's the queen of the deck and best card, but also like since Baby came out, she's a little bit weaker than Chocolate a la mode now, but I still like, you know, I love her. She's a great card. And then we have Teacher Glass Fillet at 3 as well with 1 Heartland Draco. This card was so funny to play at my first regional because that is how I won against Salamangreats. He expected, because he'd blown up my field, I'm not kidding you, over 5 times in a row. Every time on my turn. It sucked. It was so infuriating because he had nothing. So he wasn't like winning, he was just negating my stuff and popping it. So he waited until I was gonna do my baby effect to go into like other Xyz monsters and stuff. And then instead of activating the effect, which would have won him the game, because he would have destroyed it and I would have lost everything, I just jumped into this and hit him directly for 2k, and it felt so good. I was like, yes. So I keep this card in here for those tight niche games where the Madolche Xyz monsters just aren't working for me and I need to deal damage in time or whenever. But yes, that is why I play it, even though a lot of you guys are probably looking at it like, that card is so old. Madolche players haven't played that since like 2000 whatever. So that is basically my deck right now. My deck was originally 42 cards, but I have this extra slot in here. I know I talked a whole lot, but that's just why I don't do deck profiles. Some of the cards that I've taken out, I took out my strikes. I have an extra Promenade. I have, well, technically I took out my 3rd Messenger Letter, but since I got a holo, there's an extra one in here. And then Muful, and sadly my called buys that I need to put back in the binder. So I would pull out my collection binders, but obviously this video has run for quite a while and I don't want to bore you guys forever. But if you have any recommendations, things that I'm looking for is basically stuff. Stuff that is preferably not super expensive or hard to get, and stuff that could potentially make my deck better. I want to keep it as pure Madolche as possible. I know that I've seen gamma and drivers and profiles before, and obviously the kaiju package and everything like that. Some people have played Super Poly, obviously, especially since, you know, Dragoon is a card and Super Poly is one of the easier outs to it. So if you have any recommendations on how I can make this deck better, more consistent, please keep in mind that I would like to keep it as pure as possible and as budget friendly as possible, even though this deck is one of the least budget friendly casual rogue decks out there. So thank you guys for watching, and I will hopefully put out another video soon. Bye!